Hello everybody and welcome back to r/niceguystories. Now I just want to say I hope you guys are enjoying this double upload through the whole month of August, and if you would like to see more videos like the ones that have been airing throughout the entirety of the month, make sure you like the video, leave a comment down below to start a discussion regarding the video, and if you have not already, subscribe to the channel. Let's go. Our first story comes to us from username Mishkinis. Nice guy friend at music school. Hello all, this is my first post ever, so I apologize for any errors in formatting. This also doesn't have to do much of a complete story, so I'm sorry about that too. I kinda just need a place to talk about this guy. Some backstory first. I won't name any particular school, but let's just say it's a franchise based on a movie starring Jack Black where you take lessons what rock instrument you play. There's also a house band at your audition into and shows where you play and rehearse with other people. I'm relatively new to this compared to the nice guy who shall henceforth be called Drew. Now, when I first met Drew, he was one of the only kids my age there. It was a sort of camp thing, and most of the kids were way younger. I didn't really have anyone else to hang out with, so he became my friend. As for his personality, picture the average fan of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Then picture him editing an anime girls into his pictures. There you have him. Now, flash forward a few months to when I actually started the show. He's the only person there that I know, so I hung out with him. There were two other friends who usually hung out with us, and I'll call them H and A. A few weeks in, Drew begins acting weird around me. He's usually weird, but this was a different weird. Before long, he took me out to Starbucks and confessed that he had a crush on me. I'm a guy. I didn't really know how to handle this, so I just said something along the lines of, I'm flattered, but I don't really know how to take this. And then we just went the rest of the show without mentioning it ever again. Whatever, right? Nope. For the next show, I didn't go to the one he was in. H and A still went though. Apparently, he began making comments about me behind my back. Nothing too accusatory, but stuff like, the only reason I ever liked him was because he was feminine, and because I'm trans, that kind of stuff really upsets me. He also went on to repeatedly call A wholesome and a barge for dressing pretty fashionably and getting upset at him for rude comments. He also said some pretty insensitive things regarding A's race. When we all inevitably got upset at him, he used a copy-paste apology to excuse his actions. The standard, I'm sorry if what I said upset you sort of stuff. This apology, of course, didn't include how he basically sent us anime off-brand without our permission, or how he was slowly going down the path of neckbeard, but whatever. He's not the worst nice guy ever, but legend has it you can still find him whining about how he's such a nice guy and that it's a tragedy that he can't get a girlfriend. Our next story comes to us from username Veladir. I'm nice, and I'll hit you when you're wrong. I'm nice enough to hit you when you're wrong. I'm not really sure how to start this off, so I'll just jump right in it. In 9th grade, I was in a relationship with this guy. We'll call him Jay. He was sort of a nice guy, but this isn't who the story is about. So Jay and I were in a relationship for 5 months, and I'd always go to his D&D group with him at lunch, hang out with him all the time, all the things girlfriends do when they're interested. I'd also like to note Jay was 18 at the time, so yeah. Anyway, Jay had this friend, I'll call him G, who was clearly interested in me and would always talk to me about my relationship with Jay and how it was probably not the best for me, which it wasn't. I was 14 and he was 18, but it didn't end up ending until Jay left me for another girl. But between the time G and I met to when Jay broke up with me, he was always hooked onto my side like a kitten. He would ask to come over, hang out, even come on a date with Jay and I because he wanted to see what we were up to. This should have been a big red flag, but I didn't really know any better because I didn't have friends until I met Jay. But after he and I broke up, in swoops G like it's no one's business. He was in my gym class, which is where most of this started, and he would always want to be partners for anything we did, and we always had to be on the same teams for dodgeball because he didn't want to hurt me. Oh, how that was about to change. Through the next few months, he started getting really clingy, and when I'd be hanging out with other guys, he'd say I was a wholesome and that anyone I was talking to was my freak buddy. He would spam me with calls and texts telling me I was a disgusting human being, but then an hour later get all sappy and say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that, I love you, I'm sorry. Again, I should have seen the red flags. So this goes on for a while, and he decides we need to talk. I don't want to be alone with him at this point, so while I'm walking laps in the gym for warm-up, he approaches me and starts telling me why he's been acting the way he has, and continues to state it's because he loves me. I clearly don't feel the same and turn him down because I'm still getting over Jay and I don't want to be in a relationship, to which G starts freaking out. He starts screaming at me in the middle of the gym, calling me a slut, saying I'd never be able to do better than him. He says he's the only guy that'll ever love me, and I just keep walking and pretending that nothing is happening because I hate conflicts. Big mistake. G gets so heated that he walks in front of me, so I have to stop. I tell him to move, to which he responds with a full-on backhand. I fell to the ground in shock, tears were rolling down my face, but I didn't cry because I was still processing what just happened. I only tuned back into reality when I heard, "I'm a nice guy, you should have given me a chance. You'll never find someone who cares enough to hit you when you're wrong." The guys in the class went wild on him. G was a smaller guy, so they had no problem grouping up on him. I don't really know what happened after that because some of the girls in my class took me to the changing room to get cleaned up and make sure I was okay. G didn't get suspended or anything, but he did go to regular counseling. I feel like the school could have done more, but they didn't, and I couldn't really do anything about it because I didn't know what action to take. TLDR, I break up with my boyfriend, and Nice Guy swoops in and hits me when I reject him. Yeah, no, that's messed up, especially when the school didn't step in for anything. The least they could have done is call his parents to have them rip him a new one. If any of you whatsoever think that that action was appropriate, you can rightfully get off my channel right now. Violence towards anyone in the face of rejection is never appropriate and is very immature. Our last story comes to us from that throwaway 9875. The nice guy who almost made me believe it was my fault. Sorry, this is long, TLDR at the bottom. I was part of this club on campus, trying to keep things vague in case he sees this, and that's where I met him, nice guy NG. NG had joined the club before me, yet he wasn't close to anyone in it. He was kinda weird and awkward, but I sympathized because I have always been kinda shy myself. I quickly made some friends in the group, but I was aware the club as a whole didn't like him and talked behind his back a lot. I felt even worse about that, so I tried to be nice and stick up for him when I could. I started getting the feeling he had a thing for me, but nothing had happened yet, so I didn't place much thought into it. Some of the club members were throwing a party and invited everyone. I ended up getting pretty wasted, but I had sobered up a little by the time our designated driver got there. I'm sitting in the car chatting with another person who was there with us while he just sulked next to me because I wasn't paying attention to him. The next thing that happened was something I wasn't sure was a memory or a dream because I was drunk and a little out of it. I just remember him very vaguely telling me he liked me and me shutting it down. I don't remember the words, I just remember it happening. I remember clearly shutting him down and I wanted to escape the car because it was awkward, but again, I wasn't 100% whether it really happened. The next few years went by with NG messaging me more and more, starting the messages about the club, but then would keep messaging me even when I would politely tell him I had other things to do. I never wanted to be rude or hurt his feelings. He would take any chance he got to sit with me or try to get me to give him all my attention. I still had an inkling he liked me, but he never mentioned it after that party. The club members threw other parties, and I remembered one specifically. I was flirting with this cute guy, CG, and I had said hi to NG when I got there, but CG and I were vibing hard, so all my attention was on CG. We spent a fair amount of time talking and drinking. Eventually, CG went to get a drink, and I was chatting with another guy nearby when NG swooped in and took CG's chair. He seemed annoyed with me and kept trying to show off and get me to watch him with beer pong. He was not good. Eventually, I noticed CG waving me over by the drinks, and I said goodbye and joined CG. We spent the rest of the party together until I ended up walking home. NG had tried to convince me to go with him earlier while CG and I chatted, but I was too deep in flirting mode. Jump to NG's last year. My school has a carnival of sorts and they throw every year with food, music, rides, and animals. I was planning on going with my friends when NG messaged me and basically guilted me into inviting him because he had no one else to go with. I pre-gamed hard and was already pretty drunk when I got to the carnival. Some alcohol stashed in my friend's dorm while I had a clear water bottle of vodka soda. He met up with us and refused to talk to my friends, only me, despite my best efforts to introduce him and my friends' efforts to make him feel included. He kept trying to make me break away from them or show off. I get annoyed and in my drunken state wasn't in the mood to baby his feelings. I didn't want him to have a bad last carnival, but I also wanted to enjoy it myself. My friends eventually went back to their dorms to drink some more while my BFF stayed, and I eventually gave her the go-ahead when other friends of ours invited her to hang. She didn't want to go, knowing I was uncomfortable being alone with him, but I felt bad keeping her. For the rest of the night, he spent trying to win me prizes, which I did not want, and making me go on rides I was a little too drunk for. Eventually, I was tired of being there and tired of him, so I told him I wanted to go back to my friend's dorm to nap. He followed me, and I remembered him mentioning in prior conversations that he lived in the nearby dorms, so I didn't think much until he mentioned he lived in the nearby dorms last year, and on the opposite side of the campus this year. I started to panic and kept saying, "I'm so tired, I just want to go nap alone. I just want to be alone," and texting my friend he wasn't leaving and I thought he'd follow me into her dorm. I had no idea what to do. I literally stopped outside and was like, "Bye, have a nice life," as this would likely be the last time I'd see him. NG looked kinda annoyed and was like, "Stop, you know I like you, right?" I was like, "Yeah, I know, NG." He mentioned that I already turned him down after the party, and that's when I realized the memory had indeed happened. It was incredibly awkward and I felt horrible, so I left, but he had looked mad as I turned him down again. I told him to enjoy the rest of his night and left. I ran to my friend's dorm as soon as I was out of his sight and felt horrible. I talked to my friend and she was kinda, "He made you feel uncomfortable and you already turned him down. He knew you didn't like him, but he had to shoot his shot anyways. I know you were worried about ruining his night, but he ruined yours." I was shaking because I felt so horrible, but the guilt turned into anger. That ended up being my last carnival, as well as it was cancelled the following year. I looked back and realized none of it was my fault. I was trying to be nice and I had no obligations to him. He had been seemingly very nice and I think maybe a nice person, but when I didn't give him the affection or attention he wanted, he would annoy or be mad at me. He wasn't my friend, he wasn't someone I hung out with outside of club events, and he knew I didn't like him. It took me a while to understand that and to stop blaming myself. TLDR, I was nice to the nice guy, but he continued to be clingy and get mad when I didn't return his affection. I felt really guilty until I realized it wasn't my fault. I think if there's anything to really take away from this, it's that if somebody has a hissy fit when you tell them no, it's not your fault they can't handle rejection, so don't blame yourself, okay? And that's gonna have to be it with the video. If you would like what you had seen and you want to show your support for the channel, be sure to hit the like button, leave a comment down below, and start a discussion with the other people watching, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. I'll be sure to see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching, and bye-bye.